on the internet? Is that what we're doing here? Going live on the internet? Are we live? That's the big question. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Yeah, it's happening. We're live on the internet. Hello, everybody. This is John Bolton. And I got to be honest with you, I am very upset about this anonymous person who wrote a book. First, they wrote an op-ed piece in the New York Times. Then they wrote a book. They're apparently in the Trump administration, but they're part of the resistance. And now it looks like y'all have a new resistance hero. I don't know if you noticed, but I was part of the resistance as early as last week. I was like, hey, Trump's kind of shady. And the resistance was like, ooh, you're one of us. And here I was ready to sell all my children's books. But now there's a new book by some anonymous person. They're apparently working inside the administration. What do they do all day? That administration has had more turnover than a third-party pyramid scheme. This person's still there. What are they doing? Do you guys have any idea how boring it is in the White House on a daily basis? It's mostly just him walking around tweeting all day and watching Fox News. And then someone who cares about him a little bit is like, hey, should we maybe do something? This dude's in his 70s. Should we maybe tell him that KFC isn't a fucking food group? Man, that's got to make you lefties mad, by the way. Every third article in the media is about Bernie's health. Meanwhile, this dude is also in his 70s, and he's currently president, and he has the eating habits of a college freshman during rush week. But anyway, my point is that you resistance warriors are so eager to anoint somebody on the right, it's like you're an evangelical church or something. I don't know if I buy this anonymous stuff. What if it just ends up being Trump himself? Whoa, that is meta. What do you think, Lucy? By the way, I know that all you guys watching this show are a bunch of communists, so you like that Russian dude more than you like me. Well, guess what? That guy doesn't know the cat's name, just calls her Black Cat. That's not cool. She has a name. It's Lucy. I know her name, and I'm petting her. You're a good cat, Lucy. I could attach a drone to you. Oh, wait, no, you're not supposed to do that with cats. All right, whatever. I'm going to quit while I'm ahead. We're done here. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Get Your News On with Ron, the world's first viewer-curated streaming news show. You guys have sent me a lot of stuff today. We're not going to get through everything. John Bolton, bummed out that he's not part of the resistance anymore. It was a weird... He's a strange dude, man. I don't know. But anyway, I guess there's a new anointed one. So this is pretty breaking. This really started dropping as of yesterday. And since then, there's been a lot of response, including, I don't know if you saw this, Edwin shared this with me, which was how I found out about it the first time. Also, very quick shout out, Abby out in Indiana. It is her birthday today. Happy birthday, Abby. I hope you're having a good one. I hope you do something cool. I know all the things I know about in the Hoosier State are mostly in Bloomington, but I hope you're doing something cool, wherever it may be. Anywho, Edward Snowden did a marathon with Joe Rogan, which I have not checked out any of it yet, but I need to check that out soon. But first, here's where we're going to start. Bernie Sanders has spoken out on whistleblowers, and here's what he had to say. Bernie Sanders pledges to end practice of prosecuting whistleblowers under the Espionage Act. This is from Ryan Grimm over at The Intercept. Bernie Sanders would, as president, Bernie Sanders would end the practice of using the controversial Espionage Act to prosecute government whistleblowers, the Vermont senator told The Intercept in an interview on Saturday ahead of a major rally in New York. The century-old law had largely gone out of fashion until it was deployed heavily by the Obama administration, which prosecuted 8 people accused of leaking to the media under the Espionage Act, more than all previous presidents combined. That's part of Obama people kind of like to gloss over. But when it came to whistleblowers, it was incredibly, the Obama administration was incredibly brutal. And, Chelsea Manning, Obama commuted her sentence, but after he tortured her for 6 years. And again, sometimes people misspeak, and I myself am guilty of this. I even did it on a show recently. You kind of misspeak because you get ahead of yourself in thoughts and you say that he pardoned Chelsea Manning. A lot of people think that's what happened. That's not what happened. And people need to be careful of that, including myself, because I've done it before. He didn't actually pardon Chelsea Manning. Had he pardoned Chelsea Manning, it'd be harder for them to do what they're doing to her now, where they're detaining her without cause. It'd be harder for them to do that had he actually pardoned her. He didn't pardon her. He just commuted her sentence. So anyway, President Donald Trump is on pace to break Barack Obama's record if he gets a second term. Once again, Donald Trump, not kind to whistleblowers. People make it out like Julian Assange was helping Donald Trump and their buddies. Really? Then why is Donald Trump wanting to prosecute Julian Assange so bad if they're buddies? All right. And this is according to the Press Freedom Tracker. Asked if it is appropriate to prosecute whistleblowers under the Espionage Act, Sanders said, of course not. Pretty cut and blank. Whistleblowers have a very important role to play in the political process, Sanders said, and I am very supportive of the courage of that whistleblower, whoever he or she may be. Now, they're referring to the whistleblower as far as Ukraine goes. So, am I a little disappointed that he didn't mention Julian Assange by name or Edward Snowden by name? Am I a little disappointed he didn't mention those names? Although Julian Assange himself, technically not a whistleblower, he's a publisher, but, you know, he's still kind of lumped into that category and lumped into that persecution. Am I bummed out he didn't mention those names specifically? Yeah, but this is really good news that he's coming out and saying these types of practices need to end. I would not prosecute anyone under the Espionage Act. I would start reversing this stuff. That's huge news. Bernie Sanders, one of the few to get that right. The only other person who's got it right when it comes to whistleblowers is Tulsi Gabbard. She's spoken favorably as well. So this is good news. This is very good news that Sanders is doing this. And let's take a look at what Edward Snowden said in response. Tim shares this, which, by the way, this was shared by a lot of you guys. Susan shared this, and Edwin shared some of this, and Tim shared what we're about to go into right now. This is Edward Snowden's response, which also Edward Snowden just got done doing a marathon with Joe Rogan. I'm going to check that out. I haven't gotten to see any of it yet, but I'm going to be checking it out. So here's what Edward Snowden had to say. Whoa! 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 Right, Lucy? Lucy's chilling. She's really chill today. She heard her name. She perked up. All right. Whoa, says Edward Snowden, as Sanders vows to end prosecution of whistleblowers under the Espionage Act. This is the most important stance any candidate has taken affecting... Whoa, why is this jumping all over the place? This is the most important stance any candidate has taken affecting press freedom so far. Hopefully, this will force others to follow. That is from Trevor Timm, Executive Director of the Freedom of the Press Foundation. So Senator Bernie Sanders vowed, if elected president in 2020, to break with both the Trump and Obama administrations by refusing to use the repressive century-old Espionage Act to prosecute whistleblowers, a stance that was applauded by press freedom advocates and former NSA contractor Edward Snowden. The stance Bernie took, by the way. That sentence is a little confusing. They're not applauding the stance that Obama and Trump took. They're applauding the stance that Bernie took. In an interview with The Intercept's Ryan Grim, okay, we just went over that. Of course not. The law is very clear. Whistleblowers have a very important role to play in the political process. I am very supportive of the courage of that whistleblower. And they're referring to the whistleblower that's going on as far as Ukraine is concerned, which that's not the example I would have wanted them to point to, obviously, but that's the example that they covered in that interview. And while I would have wished they talked about Edward Snowden, that they talked about what's going on with Julian Assange, that they talked about Chelsea Manning, those are the whistleblowers / publishers I would have wanted to hear about. Not something that's going on in the administration where we don't even really know what's what yet. But the sentiment is still there. And that's the most important part. The sentiment that he's saying, if president, this is what I wouldn't do. I wouldn't continue this. That's huge. Because a lot of folks would. All right. And then they're Here we go. They cover Chelsea Manning a little bit here. Former U.S. Army Private Chelsea Manning, currently behind bars for refusing to testify before a secretive grand jury, was prosecuted by the Obama administration for Espionage Act violations, served 7 years in prison before Obama commuted her sentence at the end of his presidency. Manning released classified information to WikiLeaks, whose founder and publisher Julian Assange has been indicted by the Trump administration for espionage. Then they bring up Reality Winner here. So progressives hailed Sanders' pledge to end the use of the Espionage Act against whistleblowers as a potential sea change and urge other 2020 presidential candidates to follow his lead. I doubt any of them will. With exception, of course, to Tulsi Gabbard, because she's already spoken favorably, or rather, she's spoken against the brutal treatment of whistleblowers. She's already done that. I doubt anyone else will. The best I think you can hope for is that Liz Warren might be like, I don't know. I'd have to look into it. That's the best you can hope for from Liz Warren. The rest of them, they're going to just parrot the establishment narrative on whistleblowers. Even Andrew Yang did that. Even Andrew Yang gave a horrible answer when he was asked about whistleblowers. And it's amazing how silent the media has been. I mean, and when I say media, I mean the corporate media. It's amazing where it's like, don't you see the connection here? I mean, there was that one brief moment on MSNBC, and it was for like a day, where even Rachel Maddow and they all expressed a little bit of sentiment like, oh, this is what's going on with Assange is this is a little crazy, this is a little extreme, this is we're journalists, put journalists in quotes for them, but we're journalists too. There was one day where that sentiment was echoed, and then it stopped, probably because their owners real quick said, oh, cut that out. Oh, cut that out. I know you're worried. I know what's going through your head is, gee, first they came for the communists and I did not speak out. Then they came for the socialists and I did not speak out. Then they came for the journalists, and none of us know what happened after that. I know that might be going through your head a little bit, because somewhere deep down throughout all the paychecks, there's still a little piece where you're like, hey, I got into this to try to tell the truth. Let's stamp that out. Here's a bonus. Let's stamp that out. Don't you bring up that ever again. So Bernie Sanders has spoken on whistleblowers, and he had a good thing to say. Finally, had a good thing to say. Edward Snowden in support of this. And if you want to hear more from Edward Snowden, he did a marathon with Joe Rogan. I'm not saying that to like give a plug necessarily, because Joe Rogan does not need my plugs. I could use a plug from him, which, by the way, feel free to tweet Joe Rogan, ask if he'll have me on as a guest. Feel free to do that. But I am saying that because I want to check it out, because I want to hear what Edward Snowden has to say. And I know that if anyone's going to just let him speak, it's going to be a Joe Rogan. You're going to get a long interview, just hearing what Edward Snowden has to say. So I look forward to checking out that marathon. But Bernie spoke out on whistleblowers, Espionage Act. He would not utilize it. He would end that practice, a practice that has been brutal since day one, that the Obama administration has used a lot, that the Trump administration has used a lot. Bernie Sanders would end that. And press freedom advocates and Edward Snowden are saying, thank you. Good. All right, so that's a little bit of good news. Again, I wish they would have covered other whistleblowers in that interview, but the sentiment still remains. The sentiment is good. Thumbs up. This is overall very, very, very good news. All right, so we're going to shift gears a little bit, and we're going to go to a strike in Chicago. Christina shares this. Christina is always good with the Midwest news. Christina, I think she probably lives out that way. But she's always good with the Midwest news, and she shares this today. And this is in regards to Liz Warren, or not necessarily Liz Warren. It's more the striking Chicago teachers and the unions in schools, but they single out Liz Warren here, which is interesting. Let's get to the article first, then we're going to talk about it a little bit. Senator Elizabeth Warren joined striking Chicago teachers to support unions and schools. The Massachusetts Democrat and 2020 presidential candidate stood alongside the teachers union in its sixth day of striking for a better contract deal. Senator Elizabeth Warren flew into rainy Chicago on Tuesday morning to join the city's teachers and support staff in their sixth day of striking for a better union contract deal with the city and Chicago public schools. So here's what she had to say about it. I'm here to stand with Chicago teachers. I'm here to stand with Chicago nurses. I'm here to stand with Chicago's librarians. And now here's the most important part. CTU and SEIU were in their 6th day of striking and 4th day of no classes on Tuesday as the unions continued negotiating with Mayor Lori Lightfoot and CPS, the Chicago Public Schools, on issues like, here's what they want: smaller class sizes, more nurses, social workers and special education teachers, affordable housing, and better pay. There has been no academic instruction in the school since October 17th. And CPS is the third largest school district in the nation, 25,000 teachers serving more than 300,000 students. And what are they asking for? They're asking for things they shouldn't even have to ask for: an adequate number of nurses, smaller class sizes so the teaching is manageable, social workers, special education teachers, affordable housing, and a living wage. They're asking for better pay, likely because they're underpaid. What's up, Lucy? How are you? You concerned about the teachers? You should be. That's good. That's good. Now, so a lot of candidates, Democratic candidates, they show up at these strikes when the cameras are on. Amy Klobuchar showed up to a strike or two. I'm pretty sure Beto O'Rourke did. And I'm sure others have. That doesn't mean that they're going to stand with you when it's needed most. Bernie Sanders, of course, has. Bernie Sanders has showed up at various strikes. Bernie Sanders led a couple of them, by the way. When it comes to Disney or Amazon, Bernie Sanders led them. And the fight for 15 was successful in both those, for instances, with Amazon and with Disney. Amazon's, of course, pulling off other fuckery, but, you know. So my question here is, and I'm glad Elizabeth Warren came to the strike. That's good that she did that. It's good when all of them do that, even though, you know, I question the authenticity of it. But why is Elizabeth Warren getting all these headlines when pretty much no one else does? Amy Klobuchar was showing up at strikes. Did you see any headlines about her? I didn't. Beto O'Rourke was showing up. Did you see any headlines about him? I didn't really see any. But Liz Warren getting tons of headlines from the New York Times, from CNN, from Huffington Post, which was the one we looked at. Why is Liz Warren so special? Is it because the strike is bigger? Well, maybe that has something to do with it. But it's also because she is the anointed one by the DNC right now. She is their front runner. And why have they anointed her? Well, because she's the one who they know has the most potential to be seen as just a viable alternative to Bernie. She's the one who they think is still going to play ball their way, is still going to help out the donor class, but the public will see as, oh, she's just like Bernie. So when she shows up at a strike, let's give this a lot of media coverage. And you know where I'm at with Elizabeth Warren. I can't give her the benefit of the doubt anymore. She flip-flops on Medicare for all almost daily. All of her policy ideas are just watered-down ideas from Bernie. She cannot defend them very well when asked. She flip-flops on corporate money almost daily. She goes along with Trump's military budgets. She makes a really good speech to a Wells Fargo executive when the cameras are on and then does nothing. So I don't really give her the benefit of the doubt anymore. I just can't. I mean, how many times? And here's the thing. Even if I did, it would not make a difference if she is the nominee, because I think she would get destroyed by Trump. I think if there's one thing that last debate showed us, it is that she cannot handle mild criticism from her colleagues. She cannot handle a basic policy question that is lobbed up to her by someone to see it. If you can't refute, and I know we've talked about this before, if you can't refute when someone says, well, won't Medicare for all raise taxes? If you can't refute that and say Medicare for all would change the way healthcare is paid for, so a family would pay less money for their healthcare than they do now. Technically, their tax bill would go up because they're paying it to the government instead of to a for-profit insurance company. But their overall spending on healthcare would go down significantly. So it's cheaper and more affordable. That's very basic. Any person can understand that. And then not only do you refute that sentiment, but you talk about how Medicare for All is cheaper, how it saves money, and how just saying, oh, well, taxes go up is a right-wing talking point. The fact that Liz Warren can't refute that in a couple sentences, which she cannot. She has not been able to do it. Bernie Sanders can. She cannot. The fact that she can't even do that she can't even handle when Tulsi Gabbard just brings up a basic foreign policy position and asks her to stand with her on it. And Liz Warren doesn't know what to say. She's a deer in headlights. The fact that she can't refute basic things from her colleagues and from moderators at CNN who give her the most speaking time. How do you think she's going to fare against Trump? And don't just say, oh, she'll beat him in the debates. I know she'll beat him in the debates. It doesn't matter who wins and loses a debate. It matters what sound bites exist and what kind of strength people see in a candidate. That's what matters most. Not if somebody objectively watching the debates would be like, well, I think this person's making more sense policy-wise than the other person. That's not that big of a deal compared to, does this person seem like they'll have the strength to beat a Donald Trump? And by strength, I mean, will a person who is undecided, will a person who is likely not to vote at all show up for Trump's opponent? The answer for Liz Warren, she will not get one undecided voter. She will not get one unlikely voter. She will get zero from either of those categories, which means she will lose to Trump. And it's not just her. Same with Pete Buttigieg. He'll do the same thing. Same with Cory Booker. I mean, it's a punchline to even say that guy's name. Same with Amy Klobuchar. Same with all of those establishment candidates. The only candidates who are able to get those types of votes, Bernie Sanders, Tulsi Gabbard. They're the only ones. They've proven it before. They are just, this is objectively true, the only ones. And I think Liz Warren's performance in the last debate was exceptionally terrible. And I think it showed she would get eaten alive. She'd take another DNA test if he bullied her into it. And she would not get any of those votes. And it doesn't matter if me or any other person on YouTube is like, okay, let's just take her at her word. Let's give her the benefit of the doubt. It doesn't matter. It does not. She would go on to lose anyway. So even if I'm like, hey, I'm convinced by her, which I'm not, I think it's hard to be. But even if I was, she'd still go on and lose in the general. As of right now. I mean, it's still a long season. But based on her last debate performance and what we've seen from her so far, people want conviction. That's what they want. And the only time Liz Warren has been able to show conviction is when she's applauding capitalism. That's the only time. When Trump says we'll never be a socialist country and Liz Warren stands up and claps, that's the only time she can ever show conviction. Applauding capitalism. This is the person who, by the way, capitalist to her bones, was a Republican until she was 47. Now, people can change, but it's still kind of worth mentioning that. She was giving speeches to the Federalist Society when Bernie was standing up for gay rights. So it's cool that Liz Warren's standing with the team. I'm glad she's doing that. I'm glad when any candidate does it, even if I don't think it's very authentic. But it's interesting that Liz Warren gets all this publicity when she does it. No other candidate, especially not Bernie Sanders, does. That's interesting to me. All right. So we're going to switch gears here. We have a Muni broadband story because you guys know this is Get Your News On with Ron. Municipal broadband, which is city-owned internet. We're big fans of that here. We are big fans of that here. And here's a story from Muni Networks, an organization I follow closely. Denver considers 2020 to reclaim local authority. I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty of all this policy, but we're going to do the cliff notes here. So even though there are more than 140 municipalities and counties that have voted to reclaim local telecommunications authority from the state, the city and county of Denver, Colorado has put off such a such a referendum. 2020, however, may be the year that the metropolitan region votes to shed themselves of the harmful restrictions of SB 152. Okay, so what's going on here in a nutshell? There is a lot of red tape. So municipal broadband, for anyone, if you're new to this show, is basically city-owned internet. It means that your city would offer internet into your home. So, and net neutrality would be written into your charter. So basically, this ends the net neutrality battle once and for all, because it puts the internet into the hands of cities and municipalities and out of the hands of big cable, out of the hands of Comcast, out of the hands of AT&T, out of the hands of Spectrum. These companies have essentially organized a duopoly across the country. They try to stifle out any competition, and as a result, we get worse internet than a lot of countries at a more expensive price than pretty much all the other countries. And the free and open internet as we know it is threatened on a daily basis because if these ISPs can control our internet access more and price gouge us in a post-net neutrality landscape, they're going to do it. Who's not going to do that? City-owned internet. Because you think your mayor wants to have horrible internet where they pay extra for social media? Do you think your city officials want to have internet where certain videos load faster than others or slower than others based on the content creator's ability to pay? So that's why city-owned internet, municipal broadband is so important. What has happened throughout the country is that big cable anticipated this day when the people will want to take their internet access back. So they put in a bunch of red tape prohibiting cities and communities from building their own internet. Basically, they would have deals where they're like, you can't build your own internet here, otherwise we're not coming in. At the time, cities and municipalities weren't thinking far ahead and said, okay. So now they're trying to get over this red tape, and that's what Denver's trying to do. Denver is trying to get out of this red tape so that they can potentially in the future build their own city internet. Why do I single out Denver? Why do I mention Denver specifically? Well, here's 3 places where municipal broadband is really being built and has already been successful. Fort Collins, Colorado. Longmont, Colorado. All close to Denver. Over in Massachusetts, Charlemont, Massachusetts, a city of 7,000 people, by the way. They told Comcast to get packing. We're going to build our own internet. The city of Shootbury, Massachusetts, decided they wanted to build municipal broadband. And the city of Boston and Cambridge are looking into it. Over in Tennessee, Chattanooga, Tennessee, was ahead of the curve. And they decided we're going to have municipal broadband. They had a certain electrical grid in their favor. They decided we're going to build municipal broadband here. Chattanooga, Tennessee, which, by the way, is a very underrated city. Chattanooga, Tennessee is actually awesome. If you ever get the chance, go. Chattanooga, Tennessee experiences the best internet in the country at an affordable price. They are now billing themselves as Gig City USA. It has done wonders for that city as far as businesses investing there and growth of the city. And it's an asset to the universities, to tech, to innovators. You get the idea. Now, Tennessee, which is a red state. Tennessee is a very red state. I used to live in Nashville. I can tell you, Tennessee is a very red state. But now Tennessee, who is usually hands-off when it comes to government, right? They're a red state. They're typically, Republican-controlled, hands-off when it comes to government. But even despite that, Tennessee has bills out there that have bipartisan support to build statewide broadband all across the state. That's weird that they would want the state. Well, why? Why? Because they see what Chattanooga has, and they want it all over the state. And the idea of net neutrality is not a partisan issue either. It has support all across the political aisle amongst Republican voters, Democrat voters, and everything in between. So my reason for bringing up all these examples. Oh, wait, I'll give you one more. Tacoma, Washington, been on the forefront fighting for municipal broadband from day one. Where's another place where municipal broadband's taken root? Sandy, Oregon, Portland, Oregon, Tacoma, Washington. And Seattle's looking into something as well. The point here is municipal broadband, when people see it, they realize how great it is. I know it's not the sexiest topic. I know that. I get it. And I've been trying to make it more accessible. I've been trying to, make it entertaining the best I can. Because I know when you just hear it, it doesn't necessarily say, oh boy. But when you see what it does, you think, man, this is damn sexy. because now we're getting better internet at a reasonable price, and we have won the net neutrality war once and for all. We're going to have a free and open internet, so we don't have to tell our children and our grandchildren what the internet used to be like. The way we hear about what radio used to be like, what television used to be like. Once we lose a medium, it's gone forever. And if you don't think we can lose the free and open internet, I promise you, we can. We can. It's already happening some in other places. We can. And they've already experimented with what they can get away with as far as gutting net neutrality. And it's going to be a slow boil. We're not going to just wake up one morning and all of a sudden the internet's completely censored and different. It's going to be a slow boil over time. So it's worth noting that whenever something like this starts to happen, it takes root and it spreads throughout the state. And this movement is important. And again, I get back to everyone. If you're trying to build municipal broadband in your community, please do not hesitate to get in touch with me. Go to ronplagon.com, email me. It starts with showing up at your city hall. The next step is getting your city to join Next Century Cities. And then the step after that is getting the Institute of Local Self-Reliance to come to your city to do an assessment on building a municipal broadband project in your area and in your city. That's what it takes. And that's not an easy. I've been working at it for over a year. I'm still on step 2. So, and unfortunately, the city government has not been very responsive to me. And I don't think it's because they're necessarily against it. I think it's because I just have not been able to really translate the importance of it. And I'm working on that. And I'm hoping in 2020 to be able to work on it more. We'll see. I got a couple projects in the works. But anyway, municipal broadband, contagious and essential to a free and open internet. And that's our update. All right. So this last story of the day comes from David. And David, on this show, occasionally we just love a kind of, oh, holy shit story. I like those here. Sometimes it's about aliens. Sometimes it's about just something quirky and crazy in the news. This is one of those, for instances, of a quirky and crazy in the news. David's really good at these stories. David shares a lot. Climate change is David's thing. He has a lot of great music stories, which I feel bad. He sent one on Music Monday, but we didn't do a stream because I was traveling back from my sister's wedding. But David's really good at the kind of, oh, holy shit stories, which I appreciate. I have fun with the oh, holy shit stories. Here's an oh, holy shit story that is very appropriate given the time of year this is. Okay, and I'm going to try really hard not to spoil anything about a movie I like. But here's the deal. Indiana couple claims adopted daughter from Ukraine was really an adult with dwarfism who tried to kill the family. Okay, I got to put this out there now. It's October, horror movie season. Although for me, it's always horror movie season. I'm not as big of a connoisseur as some. But October especially, you love to just binge the Netflix, try to find as many horror movies as you can. At least that's something I love to do. I love Halloween. My fiance wants to do a joint costume. Hold that thought, because that's what we're going to talk about that in the chat. But anyway, so this headline, Indiana couple claims adopted daughter from Ukraine, really an adult with dwarfism, tried to kill family. Okay, that is the plot of a horror movie I really like. And if I say the name of the horror movie, I will spoil it for you. But that is the plot to a horror movie I really, really like. So it's so crazy that this is actually kind of happening. And not just happening, but it's coming to the surface in October. All right, so let's look into this, man. This happened in Indianapolis, Indiana, which, by the way, that's where Abby has a birthday today. And that's near my alma mater. I went to Indiana University. An Indiana couple says the little girl, Natalia, they adopted from Ukraine, is actually an adult with dwarfism, tried to hurt and kill them on multiple occasions. So we were told by doctors, this is the person involved, Michael Bartnett. This is what he has to say. We were told by doctors, this person is a sociopath. This person is a con artist. You are all in danger. Michael and his now ex-wife, Christine Barnett, thought they were adopting an adorable 6-year-old girl from Ukraine back in 2010. The couple is accused of neglecting their adopted daughter, Natalia, after court documents claim they rented an apartment for the girl in 2013, left her there alone. So according to what the official thing was on the books about this girl, she would have been 9 years old. But she might not have actually been 9 years old. Oh, this is so creepy. All right. So she would have been 9 years old when they left her in an apartment alone, which of course that's, child neglect. I mean, that's horrible. You can't do that. But they're saying that Natalia is not who she says she is. They claim she's an adult and she was attempting to harm them. So here's what they're saying she would do. Natalia would do things like place clear thumbtacks on the stairs face up so that when we would walk up the stairs, we would be stepping on thumbtacks to pain and injure ourselves. Michael said his wife discovered evidence of a monthly menstrual cycle and that Natalia, when confronted, said that she did have one and had been hiding it from them. Okay, when did they discover this evidence? I've never heard of a 6-year-old getting a menstrual cycle. I don't believe that's possible. If she was 9, is that possible? I'm not an expert in this. I can't say for sure. There may have been some kind of anomalies or rare cases out there where somebody got it as young as 9. I don't know. I can't speak to that. But either way, they noticed this and they're like, something's going on. So check this out. She had attempted to kill my wife for the second time, this time by trying to pull her into an electric fence. The couple tried to press charges against her, but instead she was pushed into a hospital system. Natalia suffers from a rare form of dwarfism, and Michael said they quickly noticed some suspicious behavior, including developmental changes consistent with adults. He claimed that doctors, testing, and even a court ruling led them to believe she was actually born in 1989. So medical professionals are saying, no, this is not, she has this form of dwarfism. She's not, she wasn't a 6-year-old when you adopted her. She was an adult. That's crazy. All right. So it's still unclear how old the girl is. But they're saying if she was born in 1989, she would have been 22 years old when they adopted her. Or, in 2012, she would have been 22 years old, excuse me. So in 2013, she would have been 23. All right, so it's still unclear exactly how old the girl is. Based on the Ukrainian birth certificate that the Barnetts were originally given at adoption, she would be around about 16 years old. But if the court system's decision to change her birth year was accurate, she would be around 30 right now. Officials believe Natalia was a minor when the Barnetts moved to Canada, and they are both facing charges of neglect, including endangering a dependent's life and abandoning or cruelly confining a dependent. Michael's lawyers have filed a motion to dismiss the case based on inaccurate information. Well, if the medical speculation is right and she was born in 1989, she would not have been a minor in 2013, obviously. Man, this is crazy. So she might be around 30. So so many questions here. And again, this is a plot to a really cool horror movie. I don't want to say it or I'll spoil it for you. But, man, that is crazy. That is just an oh fuck story. Placing thumbtacks on the stairs, trying to push into electric fence. Oh, and at one point she tried to apparently, according to the couple, tried to poison the mom's coffee. And I guess it ruined their marriage. They're not together anymore. We'll see if there's any updates on this. This is one of those oh fuck stories. We don't know what the truth is, but man, is this crazy. It's crazy to think something like this is even possible. Man. And you might think, man, that would make a great horror movie. Well, it already has. And I don't want to spoil it because if I say the title, I'll spoil the movie for you when you watch it. All right. Which, by the way, brings me to how I'm going to end today's show. Halloween. My fiance wants to do a joint costume. Like she wants us to do she brought up Sid and Nancy. Here's my thing. And for anyone not in the know, Sid and Nancy, Sid was the bass player from the Sex Pistols. Nancy was his girlfriend. They both died very young and tragically. They were 20 years old. But I nixed Sid and Nancy. And the reason and I could do a fun Sid Vicious, I feel like. With the red hair, I'd be more of a Johnny Rotten. But I don't want to do another costume where I have to explain it to people, like where I really have to break, because I've done that so many times in the past. I've had so many obscure costumes where nobody got it or a couple people did. 2 years ago, which by the way, we lost him recently. I was Daniel Johnston. For Halloween 2 years ago. And my fiance was Kurt Cobain. Those were fun costumes, but we had to explain it to everybody. And a lot of times it was, well, I know who Kurt Cobain is, but who is Daniel Johnston? And then we had to go through he really inspired Nirvana, blah, 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 blah. Kurt Cobain wore his shirt on Saturday Night Live, or I think it was Saturday, or a magazine cover, but he wore the Daniel Johnston shirt. So I just don't want to do that again this year. I don't want to have, and Sid and Nancy, you'd have to explain it. I just want something a little more simple. The most obscure costume I ever did when I really had to explain it a lot, I was Rob from High Fidelity, the main character in the book/movie High Fidelity. John Cusack's character, if you've seen the movie but not read the book, I was that guy for Halloween once. And all I did was I just dressed how I normally dressed. Because that guy owned a record store. I mean, I had on like a pleather coat and just a sweater and a pair of jeans, which was how that dude dressed most of the time. And then I had a sign that said, "What are your top 5 favorite records?" Like 5 people knew who I was and was like, "That's an awesome costume." Everyone else had to explain it. But anyway, what are you guys being for Halloween? What do you think? Is it okay that I just don't want to explain it? I just don't want to do that. I want something simple. All right. Lucas DePorzio. Ciao, Lucas. Come stai oggi? Lucas DePorzio. I don't know if that's, I'm thinking that's Italian. It might not be, which, forgive me if it's not. But anyway, Lucas DePorzio says, it is sexy. And he's referring to municipal broadband. I know, Lucas, it's just hard. It doesn't sound sexy, but I get what you're saying. It is sexy. How do we do it in California? Here's what we do. We go from city hall to city hall in our respective cities, and we rally for it. And then if one city gets it through and starts building it, other cities are going to follow. And you can go to muninetworks.org and you can see where there's current municipal projects being looked into. Here in the Los Angeles area, Beverly Hills is looking to get fiber to the home. Santa Monica is looking into building something. And in the Pasadena area, a dude named Ron Placone is really struggling to get his city on board with Next Century Cities, but he's not giving up. So that's kind of how we do it in California or anywhere else. Anywhere else. The roadmap is the same wherever we are. We kind of start in our cities and we try to get local government on board. And we try to build a movement around it. So that's what we do. And it could come in the form of a ballot measure. It could come in the form of a city initiative. But it starts bringing it up at a city hall and getting other people interested. So Lucas, and feel free to email me if you're in the California area. I said in the California email. If you're in the California area, feel free to email me, ronplacone.com. Drop me a line. One thing I've been doing, people are like, "Hey, Ron, I want to go to City Hall. I'm not sure what to say. What should I say?" And I send them the transcript that I said at my City Hall, which, by the way, you can also catch that online. There is footage of me at my City Hall speaking on municipal broadband. Guys, thank you so much for being part of this. Tour dates, I got them. Australia, don't wait. Australia, I'm coming to you. I got to figure out what I'm going to do about my phone. I got to figure that out. I got to figure out what I'm going to do about so many things. But I'm so excited. ronplacone.com. Get those tickets. We're coming to Melbourne. We're coming to Perth. We're coming to Sydney. We're coming to Adelaide. Let me give you the exact dates. November 14th, Melbourne. November 15th, Adelaide. November 17th, Sydney. November 22nd, Perth. Get your tickets, ronplacone.com. Southern California, December, we're workshopping our 2020 tour. Graham Elwood and myself, we are workshopping our 2020 tour. We're starting right in our backyard. So December 13th, you can see us do that at the Ventura Harbor Comedy Club. And December 14th, you can see us do that right in Los Angeles at the Dojo of Comedy, Sycamore Tavern. Tickets are available now at ronplacone.com. Get them now. In 2020, we got some tickets available. February 8th, Tucson, Arizona. Tickets available now. February 29th, San Francisco, California. March 12th, Orlando, Florida. April 10th, I'm going to be in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. April 24th, Seattle, Washington. April 25th, Portland, Oregon. Tickets for those shows available now. Yeah, you know it. They're available now. Don't wait. Get them. And we're going to be announcing more dates all over the country. And if we announce, like we announced Orlando, we're going to be coming to other places in Florida. Don't worry, Florida. But right now, Orlando officially confirmed. Grab those tickets now. Guys, if you want to support this show on the sustainability end, patreon.com/ronplacone. For you give what you can level. You get an exclusive stream once a week that only patrons can see the replay. And I only respond to the things the patrons say. Yeah, that happens once a week. Patreon.com/ronplacone. You get an exclusive stream. You get dialogues between me and Lucy before they hit the presses. You get stand-up clips not available anywhere else. And you get my album for download in its entirety. You can just download my album. Just no frills attached. Just download my album. You get all that for a give what you can level. So whatever level you're comfortable giving at, you get everything. And that's patreon.com/ronplacone. please consider joining. You will help me expand the show. You will help me upgrade equipment. You will help me do more streams. You will help me have more guests. You will help me finally start that cooking segment I've been wanting to start for a long time. And that is the alarm that I set, so I remember I have to move my car this morning. You guys experience it here, folks. I got to move my car this morning. You guys are awesome. Thank you for being the best executive producers in the business. Thank you for your super chat contribution, Lucas. Thank you for Lucy. Look out. I got to thank everybody for their articles. Thank you for the articles, Tim, David, Christina, and Susan. Thank you very much for sending out those articles. I know some of y'all sent some stuff that we weren't able to get to. I apologize for that. I get to as much as we can. And we'll be back tomorrow, same time, same channel, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific time, right here on YouTube. In the meantime, you know the drill. Lucy, who bounced, when I made her move, she was like, peace, I'm bouncing. But Lucy, says meow. I say peace, peace. See you tomorrow.